so many native peoples have a record. For example, the Dogon tribe in Africa, they have record of being visited from people. And they say these people are from the stars.
Yeah.
That might seem ridiculous to us from looking at stars and thinking, well, they are what they seem to be, right? But also, if you looked at this planet from a distance, it just seems like this little ball with light around it. You also wouldn't expect it to have anything else happening. You're just seeing what you think it is, and you don't know, what may be going on in there or behind the plasma field around the outside of things like the sun and stars. Anyway, that's open to question, but one thing you're saying there, I think it's amazing, is, well, a lot of amazing things, but this idea of the reintegration, because the universe seems to be a declented system of power, right? Where the moon doesn't seem to have much. It's basically a rock, and it's accumulating materials that it might need to do anything else. The planet has some degree of energy, but nothing compared to, say, a sun. Then you've got the stars, you've got all the different grades of stars up to the immense blue stars and red stars. And then you've got the center of the galaxy itself and so on. So it makes you wonder if the planet is having an upgrade in terms of how much power it's going to have access to or have to be included into. But that power, everything you're saying about the ley lines as you're talking, I'm thinking that's going to run into human beings, because the whole Maori tattooing wasn't something separate to what they felt running up and out from the earth. All the forces on the earth ran up through their system, feet connected and touching the land and letting that force run up through them. So it says what the planet's experiencing, we're going to experience. And there's a lot that seems to indicate it's to do with a connection more directly to whatever force comes from the stars.
Yes.
There's a beautiful story, that guy Lawrence van der Post, who spent time with the Kalahari Bushmen, and he said that one night they were sitting around a campfire, and one of them mentioned the music from the stars, and he thought it was just sort of symbolic. He said, well, what do you mean? And he said, no, the actual music from the stars. And he said, I can't hear it. And they looked at him like he was mad. And they said, you don't hear this music? And he said, no. And two of them looked at each other like concerned and took him by the arm and sort of led him off from the campfire under the blanket of stars that you would get out in the deserts there. And they said, listen. And he said, I'm sorry, I can't hear anything. And they looked really saddened. They took him by the arm and they led him back to the fire like he was deficient, had some sort of deficiency. That, it's like somebody's blind or somebody who can't hear. You sort of have this wave of compassion for them. They took him back and they sat him down, and they couldn't believe that he couldn't hear this music that the ancients used to call the music of the spheres, and the music of the spinning spheres, the stars. And so it's a beautiful thing that's been pointed to, that if the human's going to be more integrated with this. There was a Zulu prophet too, Credo Mutwa, and he also said that the change that's coming is that the human's going to be dancing to the melody of the stars.
Mm. Wow.
And it's beautiful, and it's a beautiful promise. At the same time, why couldn't that guy hear it? And what's the problem? Even he's there trying to find out about their way of life, but it says that something about the patterning of the brain and the alignment of values and the lack of sensitivity that we develop living in cities and the modern world and having to deal with the stresses shuts down certain sensitivities. And that's going to cause it to be quite an upset if we suddenly have to start dealing with higher force levels and we're not used to it. It's kind of like putting, here in Brazil, you have two different power systems run through houses, even depending on the suburb you live in. If you use the wrong voltage with the wrong piece of electronic equipment, you know what to expect. Too much voltage, poof, it causes an explosion and a shutdown.
Absolutely.
And it makes you wonder if behind the scenes, this build up of power, we're going to see more and more people affected, but they're not going to know why. They're not going to know what's happening to them without the right alignment, without the right circuitry, which opens up the question of what is that right circuitry and alignment. This is what a lot of this convergence of prophecy seems to point to: more power, more force, more light, whatever, however you want to
Yes.
term it.